Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Experimental Movie Director. And I got something today that's a bit of a thought experiment. I love the idea of thought experiment, so you can sort of sit there and think and just run through what happens when you sort of delve into something interesting. And this one took place in a barber's. So I haven't misspelt the title of Barberism. I couldn't resist the pun. I began to think in the barbers what would be needed to actually film this. And of course, in a barber's, you've got a lot of rustling of beard. It was a beard trim, all that kind of thing. How on earth does film actually capture that? So I wrote it down. So in order to capture what I was thinking when I got home from the barber's, I did this. I wrote this piece. So I have this stuff here. So in a sense, I have a script here for today's show. So it's already on a meta level of this thought experiment as I project to you not the thoughts that actually happened when I'm in the barber's chair, as the fella's doing my beard. I'm now relaying a script. So it's kind of, what on earth is film? But during this thought experiment, I reached some interesting conclusions, which I may well edit all of this out. It's such a ramble. In fact, I might start again. It so annoys me when you have a podcast that doesn't get on to the point. Okay, so I'll start again. Welcome to Experimental Movie Director. Today, I have a thought experiment for you with a script, because I wrote this down soon after the experience while I was thinking through. So this actually has a script to this podcast, which is an interesting meta level, given my avoidance of literature and attempts here to discover, here meaning my films and these podcasts, an attempt to discover what cinema might be without literature, with the concept that literature itself has kind of hijacked cinema. It doesn't necessarily need it. The art of film, the technology that enabled cameras to point at things and then microphones to record things, does not need a beginning, middle, and end kind of world of literature. And I wonder, when you take literature out, when you take the script out, the movie stops being a delivery mechanism for literature. There's a lot to that. Today, it's a thought experiment about getting my beard trimmed. I will read the opening. Barberism. I push the door, having sorted out the arrangements. Lynn is going to get the chicken. Only a couple of minutes to trim a beard. Inside, a young boy waits, already faded. Presumably, one of the 3 occupied chairs is who he waits for. I don't even get to sit down. A muttered comment and a customer leaves. He is coming towards me, though, and proffers the chair with the comfort of a staff member. Actually, is. So I sit and regard myself in the mirror as he asks what I am after. So I kind of deliberately wrote that opening paragraph in that present tense of like, well, a film reveals as you go. When you do scripts, you are to reveal what's happening, what can be seen at any one point, rather than discussing things. Literature can dance around and create all kinds of exposition when it wants to. It can do anything. But film presents something else. So I wrote that deliberately, kind of commenting to myself. Oh, it's quite difficult actually writing. It's a great thing. Anyway, there's a few stories there, as I note. So this idea of needing to have a story. Let's have a look. So in that opening paragraph, essentially, I'm outside the barber's. It's got £6 on the sign for a beard trim. Let's do it. I'll just pop in here while you are you all right? Go get the chicken. Fine. Let me take a couple of minutes. Quick trim. So, but who is the young lad waiting for? He's had his fades done on the side. It's clearly a brand new hair, so he's waiting. And what's he about? But it's the story about me and my wonderful Lynn. We were going to have steak for tea, but there weren't any in the freezer that she thought there was. And anyway, we decided jerk chicken was the way forward. So fantastic. Is that the story? Is it part of our relationship? Or what about this more experienced barber working on the younger guy? And then he works on the younger guy, and there's somebody waiting, let's stop there. So he's showing him some techniques on his own head. And then he comes to me, and a youngish fella. Is that the story? What's the cut for his own wages? If it's a documentary about running a barbershop, is that what this movie might be? You know, there's a lot of stories. Or is it about the barbers itself? It's fairly new. There's photos of barbers in India, several staff and friends in the back there. Where would my camera point? What would I do? But I would say, the art department done a good job. This has got a lot going on in terms of what is a barber's, and what type of barbers is this, and how welcoming it is. And with the traditional photographs of sort of Indian barbers, you're getting a real sense of a community. Maybe there's a family tradition in here, as you sit and chat with the barbers. There's all sorts going on, and the art department has dressed it beautifully, and there's so much meaning already there. But of course, it's not art department. It's not a movie set. It's real. And my camera, were I using one in this thought experiment, can capture this and tell that story. If it's fiction, yeah, it is there to tell some story. But what story is it? So, what story is it? I'm here to sort of do my beard. I've been growing it out, messed up the trim. What's he gonna do? Let's have a look. He guesses I want a point here at the bottom on the chin. So, am I on trend? I start to think, oh yeah, right. I've got something that's good here. Is that what this is about? How might I capture that thought? I mean, anyway, at this point, I'm not even in the thought experiment yet. It's only later that I go, oh, hang on, how would I film this? Now, this dialogue between me and him, it has a lot of nice background information in it. Yeah. I've done some research. I call it a duck's tail. He's asking what that is, and it sort of sticks out, juts out at the bottom. So I think I'm after that. So there's a sense of, even though this performer is exchanging comments, I am communicating these other levels of information about myself, about the situation, what I'm looking for in the trim. And then there's a sort of meta comment on the difficulty of doing it yourself in a mirror, because you're dealing with a three-dimensional world, as the universe is, and you're capturing it on a screen or a mirror and trying to work out your left and right. I mean, thankfully, most of the time film is not reverse left and right, so we kind of get a decent idea. Although we do increasingly see footage that is reverse left and right on social media, so we're constantly getting that flip sense of the world. And of course, we have our own mirror image that we are used to, which is a flipped image in itself, and not our true image. But saved all that stuff for another podcast. So I sit down. I sit down, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror. He's doing all the getting the sheets round and things like that, and raising the chair up and down. And you can imagine in a film that moment of whatever this story is, even if it's like a local news story, I get into the chair, vump, there's me looking at the chair. And it did occur to me in this thought experiment, wouldn't it be great if there was an app that took the camera out of a mirrored reflection? Now, I'm sure it's doable, but I like the idea of an app that just automatically will grab somebody filming and take it out of the shot, because so often it's a nuisance, isn't it, filming into a mirror. In the movie I've got coming up this year, I've got to get into all of that. I've got to figuring out how to shoot into a mirror and mirror reflections.
But we can't see the camera capturing it all. That's because that's not really a mirror. And this reflection of Hamilton isn't actually her. Filmmakers have mastered the art of hiding their cameras from a mirror, using visual trickery and precise cameras and choreography.
On the podcast. So, thought experiment, filming, vroom. Nice little intro to the film. I sit there. Then what? What is the story? So let's have a look. What do we go back to here? An interesting note, there are 422 words in the script so far, and I barely got sat down. So maybe all of this needs to come out. The barber has some kind of birthmark on his face. Now I glance at it and then think, don't look again, it's some kind of birthmark. I mean, I did find out later it isn't. It was some sort of plaster that young people have now for spots or something. But I just thought, oh, don't look. But did he see me look? Will it add some tension if I'm kind of going to look again? Is that the story? In a film, close-up, extreme close-up, boom, I notice my eyes are shown looking at the mise-en-scène, looking at the scene around me. A very common capturing technique in a film, that a performer looks and then we look at what they're looking at. We as the audience see what they're looking at. This is Grandma's Reading Class, made in 1900 by George Albert Smith, as featured on the YouTube channel Iconauta. Presented as one of the first times that we saw the cutaway, we saw a character looking, and then what is the character looking at? 1900. But how did I see this? Well, it's a dark shade, black, on a lighter skin. And one of the things that the eyes move is movement. I mean, we see light and dark first. That's our first attention grabbing. There's a system of attention for the sensory apparatus of the eye and all the neurology. Light and dark is first, movement is second, and then colour. So, colour will stand out, and we'll go, oh, that's a bright colour within a situation, so we can find berries in bushes, all that survival stuff. Movement, ka-ching. Movement is about survival. The big one is survival, anything to do with the brain and neurology. It's about survival first. So a movement is something that alerts our attention. And interesting to know that filming, cinema, the only art form with movement in it. Arguably music, but painting doesn't, for instance. Theatre, one might say, dance and that kind of thing. But in terms of capturing the universe, recording it and presenting it, we have movement, and it's, for any filmmaker, we already know how important movement is. But there it is, neurologically, dumph, light and dark, and then, oh, I don't move, I don't look at that again, it would be embarrassing. Okay. But what movie is this now? As in some kind of fiction scenario, that very mark on his face could be a sign that he has the disease in some horror zombie thing. Doom. Who knows what that is? Cinema makes this story, makes this meaning out of what we can film. And I want in this thought experiment to just withdraw to what we're filming. What actually is our brush, our pen, our musical instrument? What actually is that? Anyway, there we go. So there could be many things within the story. Suddenly it's a zombie movie. This person's got some awful disease that might be a medical documentary. Might be a simple medical documentary, or an advert for spot cream. Who knows at the moment? I say spots, but at the time I thought it was some kind of birthmark. I don't know. But literature forces people filming into delivering that literature. When does a filmmaker get the chance to simply be and capture the universe. And then decide later, like with this script, I've decided later what all of this means to me, and now talking to you about it. Okay. It appears that the director of this movie has indicated to the performer that as the scene moves on, our barber gains in confidence. Chats a bit more, is happy with what they're doing. I did find out later, because Lynn pops in to no giving away secrets there. She pops in and she did say that the older barber across was looking over, sort of reassuringly checking he's doing all right. I didn't see that, so I'm only got myself. Now in a film, one would show that. Often in the cinema, we get to see what our protagonists, our performers do not see. That's part of the fun. And is it a film thing, or is that a literature thing that we get to know what's going on beyond certain characters, and then we can predict and then feel hugely satisfied when we were right? Or the whole genre might be about trying to predict when, like a detective scenario, we get it wrong. But that's the whole thing. There's so much about presenting the world in a film and a cinema that's exclusive, but it is based on that literary position, not based on Van Gogh, I suppose you should say, sitting in a field, painting what's in front of them, and just capturing the rustling of the corn and the stars and all that kind of game. When do we get to do that in film and then make a movie, then put that in the cinema? Well, cinema doesn't do that, does it? I'm jumping ahead in my script from what I remember. But cinema is a delivery of literature, and the filming is then harnessed to that. So we don't even get the filming. It's like, because of cinema being this sort of narrative and commercial delivery, the filmmaker is not allowed to be that artist in that discovery of what filming is about and what the art of filming is. So in this podcast, the big thing of this thought experiment was to go, I like the word filmer, so I tend to use that from now on. And I think it's separate to being movie director. I love the term movie, movement, neurological. It's the art form that moves, as opposed to portrait painting. But the filmer, because that's the first step, and we bypassed all that and go straight to cinema. Now, cinema is the presentation of that, and the structuring of what has been filmed. And I think in terms of this art form, we haven't got to the filming yet. We haven't even analysed that before we look at how we then present. And maybe it's all about the presentation. Maybe there is lots. You can hardly say we haven't when we've got over 100 years of brilliant film studies and all sorts, film philosophy and historical national cinemas going on. It's like, so I'm not trying to claim something. Oh, just noticed in my monitor, scruffiness. Oh well, as per. Yeah, so just be a filmmaker. So filmmaking implies those editing bits, implies those distribution bits, implies that other sense, implies that purposeful direction. So a movie director is different to being a filmer. So rather than being a filmmaker, I'm going to change those in my socials to be a filmer. That's what it is. I'm a filmer. I'll go into a place and film stuff. And that can be for all sorts of different purposes, whether I'm being paid to do a certain job, capture a certain thing, or whether it's a creative project or a personal project or somebody else's creative project. What is what I'm filming? And then with that, how do I then do that filmering? Blah, blah, blah. Well, cinema, as you just find out, it's genres, isn't it? We have a wonderful clarity of genre. And there's lots of discussion and wonderful readings about genre. in the movies what it is, and how as you get closer you can't even define it. It just blurs away from you. But in terms of a storytelling thing, the cinema will pick a genre and move through it. Or the genre will change and flip halfway through, and then that's kind of exciting as well. So if this was a zombie movie in the Barbers, the whole thing can be very ordinary, and then flip. When we see this birthmark, it actually turned out not to be a birthmark. Was that the twist? That, oh my God, it's a barbershop full of zombies here. I am in trouble. But if it's a comedy, we've got a different thing. If it's a local news report, just going in, check out the new Barbers. That was great. Hello, thank you very much. The filmer tends to know that. I wouldn't say needs to. Does the filmer need to know what the purpose is? Or can the filmer simply point a camera, place microphones to just capture that universe? Or is there something intrinsic in the filming game that we need that purpose? And if we do, I'm just kind of saying, well, does that purpose have to be literature? The purpose within cinema, this display of something that's time-based, has a beginning, middle and end. The audience have come in to see it. Fine, we've got this scenario there. We have this event of showing the film. Does the filmer need to know what the event is for? And I think the filmer does. Certainly my practice at the moment, it always does. You're always trying to, just like the art department, need to know what the purpose of this Barbers is as opposed to another one in a fiction movie. But does cinema have to be literarily based? Does it have to be about literature? By that I'm meaning that beginning, middle and end. You see, it's like, because film has a beginning, middle and end from its inception in the modern era since 1890 odd, or 1889. I think the first film shot was about 70 miles away from here in a city called Leeds. I'm not sure the date, but before the Lumiere brothers did theirs. Wonderful movie about that. How's the script going? Let's turn over a page. It's 5 pages of this script. Okay, time. I expected 2 minutes. That was in the dialogue. 2 minutes. It'll only take 2 minutes to trim a beard. What a fool. No idea. Not been in a barber's for 20 years. Is that the story? A fool goes into the barber's, not respecting the barber's skill and the work needed to trim the beard, even though I've already tried it in my own mirror and know this is difficult and I need to go and get somebody else to rescue what I've been hacking away at it in the last week. Is that part of the story? It could well be part of the dialogue. It could well be part of the characterization of the character that the performer is aware of and able to do that. And film captures all of these things at once. Because we're capturing the actual universe and presenting it, we're not doing what literature does, which can spend 2 or 3 pages in the character's mind, talking through their thoughts. You don't in film. You can't in film. Okay, you could have a narrator, but let's park that at the moment. But, literature does that naturally and tells the audience what somebody's thinking. That becomes part of the story. But film doesn't have that. So forget literature. It's not cinematic. Just because it has a beginning, middle, and end is time-based, we've jumped into literature. But literature drags in a load of things that pollute the filmer's craft, the filmer's art, because it is all just presented. We capture a real universe. We do not need to pretend it's there. It's there in front of the camera. Arguably, even if it's effects and AI and all that kind of stuff, it's still there in the world in front of the camera. You've just created a universe that didn't exist as such. But it still tends to have physical attributes of up and down, left and right. The cinema is essentially, filming is essentially a frame. It's the metaphor of a frame. It's the metaphor of a container. A container metaphor is one of the key dozen metaphors that has developed our brain. Our literal human subjective ability to look at this universe around us, filter it through our neurology of eyes. Our eyesight is different to insects, say. We filter all that, and we have a container that we put this universe in, and we have a head that contains the mind. And on a film, we have the lovely metaphor. The film itself is a container framed up, and then performers' heads in there are then container metaphors for the idea of a mind. And in a fiction movies, what I love is that is the fictional mind. And how do we communicate the fictional mind? But we've got hijacked by literature, so we never dealt with that problem of how to communicate the fictional mind. Not as filmers, we just ignore it and we go, oh, it's all right, literature will do it, the story will do it. Well, literature does it in a very different way, a few pages telling us what we think. What that leads to is that the performer is then using facial expressions to communicate what is there in the fictional mind, and it is edited between looking at something, having a response to that thing that we've seen, like the horror of the watermark on this guy's face. Oh my God, I'm in a zombie shop, or whatever. A bit of music to help communicate the emotion, because those expressions are not universally cohesive. They don't make sense across the world. They don't make sense from one culture to another, within cultures, from one person to another. There was a famous research in the 1960s which mapped out expressions of fear, disgust, happiness, joy, all that kind of thing, and declared these are beautiful, universal, the wonder of the face. But the methodology was actually very incorrect, and what recent discoveries make, check out Lisa Feldman Barrett, How Emotions Are Made, full of references to all this kind of stuff. We don't know what anyone is thinking from their expression. They don't actually add up. They're not universal. I mean, that's huge. I mean, every filmmaker, every filmer, every movie director has to go, what the, eh? I don't see a lot of that in the world. I don't see the film world go, what? This isn't universal. So what cinema creates within genres, within cultures, is creates a standard set of tropes for facial expression. That this means this and that means that. And then we read all these as we're watching. But they're not real. They're not like everyday life. Going about our life, having a chat with a barber about what I'm trying to do with my beard. Goodness knows what the expressions were. But a lot of time there are not so many expressions. So how do we get in the fictional mind? The big thing for me, of course, is eye movements. But as one of maybe two people or so that are interested in cognitive eye movements and the cinema, this is my gain, that there's a lot of cognitive eye movements that are about inner accesses of our inner world. And that reveals the fictional mind. Don't need it in literature. Literature has hijacked cinema, and we've all kind of surrendered to it and gone, oh, it's okay, the story will look after itself. But I'm a filmer. Get out of the way, literature. Let's see what filmering can do. So shall I just go back to the script? I've kind of gone off. Well, that's a script, isn't it? You can kind of go off and improvise. That's the beauty of a script. For many filmmakers, it implies a structure. I've got an idea, but when the camera rolls and the performers do their magic, well, let's see what happens. Anyway, so what have we got? Got it. I was dealing about time, wasn't I? Talking about time. Like in a film, you kind of know how long it is. You can actually just look it up. You can look on this podcast. How long am I going to sit here rambling on? How long do you have to put up with this to get any meaningful whatever from it? And it's a nice thing in literature. So put it on the blog and in Substack, and just scan through or whatever, And you notice on scans on Substack and similar now, 5-minute read, 10-minute read, TLDR, too long, didn't read, which is common. So in a film, you kind of know it has a beginning, middle, and end, and you beautifully unfold that structure, and the audience beautifully receives that structure. And it's a lovely experience. We accept and receive the unfolding of this cinematic story. And as I say that, I'm thinking, maybe story is okay. If it's a cinematic story, maybe that's sense. But it still might not have to be literature. So is there a film story that's different to a story or a literature story? Why is literature, not all stories are literature. All stories were not literature at some point because they were spoken. They were told. Even going back to early Greek literature, the Odyssey was a series of poems, often delivered by different people, different characters, songs. Check out my movie, Everyone Back to Ours, the example of a Greek Odyssey type of tale.
My name's Ellis Todd.
Do you know when we thought art was special? That it was important? That what I was doing meant something?
I'm 24 years old.
Standing in the rain, soaking up the pain.
I'm a painter.
You have paint?
Yeah.
You got a canvas, yeah?
Yeah.
So how are they stopping you?
I live in the city of culture.
I think that's just what that needed.
We can't change that. Over here we can reflect, we can look at it, we can make changes. All we need is brush. How about dropping the bag? Drop the bag, grab the brush, have a go. Come on. We'll be alright, it won't hurt you.
Under the fire and stone. I tried to get as close to chip spice orange as possible.
Nice. And chip spice is just a blend of like different paprikas.
Don't ruin it for me.
Sorry.
It's cracked.
It's making me feel like a bad guy.
You got a beard in here?
No, because I was driving, I didn't get out, mate. Mate, you're at Polar Bear drinking.
Yeah.
I just come in, you're having a double whiskey and coke, and then you're telling me you can't pay me money for a gig. Yeah. I give you mates rates anyway, because I like you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, show some appreciation, mate.
Good sugar!
Silver hills unfold and wondrous skylines we behold. Another day living like the travelers abode.
There, but I didn't think it'd actually happen.
You applied for loads of schools, didn't you? So one of them was bound to accept you.
Thanks.
Scraping the barrels.
It's not because I'm good or anything.
No, not that at all.
You alright?
Well, I suppose it's like almost therapy for you and all, isn't it? You know, a lot of artists, you know, need a bit of help, don't they? A bit, straighten themselves out a bit, tortured genius and all that. Deal with the mental health stuff. You ever had any issues like that?
Yes! So we have the party, and then we have the after party, and then there's a pre-drinks party, and then there's a special opening, and then there's the get here early to see you tomorrow. Hang on, what's that about? Oh, don't you know? And then starting about then, and then there's the be there, the maybe, the who cares, and the where were you, the course I am, the can't wait, they're not invited, they don't give a fuck, and they're really.
Race blind for far too long. Blew up blue, friendly fire on our own kind wars with no cause or rough time after time. Never for the think, always to fight just to shoot me in the human race is right.
And you wonder which fucking party are we supposed to be at? And then why is it even a party? Everyone back to ours? How about everyone back to art?
Did you bring it with you?
I did. There you go.
This track is about the area where I come from, on the north side of the city. Let's go.
When you're in trouble, you go to the bands. It's always the bands that bring the music, that knows the scene, that tell us what the culture is at.
I think, therefore I'm not.
We'll both decide now which way we should go. With our past behind us, like footprints in the
Really, I
snow.
when I look at the sea. Ready?
Ready?
No, are you saying ready? You're gonna fall off for like
right,
no.
okay.
I don't really know what you mean.
Okay, I'm ready.
Left foot down.
I find it hard to tell you that you're wrong. We can't do anything without remembering all the things we left behind.
So there's always been people working against that or working with that and enjoying that, but we haven't. I don't think, without going back to just the filmer, what does film capture of the universe that's different to what a pen writing, what a writer might capture of the universe? What does filmer make of the world that then has a film story, not a literature story? Now, I don't know if that's a relevant thing, but that's interesting for me to dwell on, and perhaps for yourself. The cinematic stories show this, show that, they happen, they unfold in real time. The literature story can just, like, as I say, spend pages going through it, going through something it wants to. Bela Balázs. Now, I'm not sure how to actually pronounce that. Google says Balázs. He's a Hungarian guy. Famously wrote a wonderful description of a silent movie scene where he talks about this. Several pages would be needed in a book to do something that the actor displays in 30 seconds to a minute. Take a look at that, Bela Balázs. It's all about the face cinema and how unique cinema is for the face, and how there's a lot of understanding in there, but it's cognitive understanding of what I say. It's not emotion. We've ended up, because of literature, trying to, move us through a story in a cinematic commercial presentation. It takes a lot of time to make a film, so you kind of need a reward back, or everything falls apart. Hence the modern era, 21st century hobby money, people like myself making movies for the whatever of it. It's kind of okay. The art of it, and why the Arts Council should fund cinema, instead of leaving it to the BFI, which is about cinema, not filmering. Because being a filmer, understands that the performer's face can communicate all this, and the story can be a film story, not a literature story. You see, even this podcast has now developed a whole new way of thinking about this thing and enabling me to use the word story, because it does come up. I mean, even advertisers are using story, not even advertisers. Corporate business trainers get the story of your brand. Ay. What a word. It's been taken on, and it's like, I don't know if I just get that on my feeds over the last 3-4 years, because there's film stuff and something that says, hey, you're a brand story maker, you're a brand communicator, because you're a filmer and a film director. Maybe. Great. Bela Balázs, and look at that thing of what the face would do. Okay, well, we're on the script. Let's have a look. There's a nice quote actually here. Literature shifts shapes from fictional mind to documentation to poetics and aesthetics, and uses any kind of formal arrangement and presentation it wants to. I feel film is more constrained. So there's huge flexibility in the literature, huge flexibility that allows it to do anything. In a book, you can suddenly have this, that, the other, and it doesn't matter. And hey, well, maybe let's have more of that in film. Let's like swap the genres around. There'll be a prize for whoever can guess which one I'm thinking of. The really swapped the genre from thriller to zombie movie. Ta-da.
Everybody be cool. You be cool. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Low profile. You understand the meaning of the words low profile?
Sure. Two of America's most dangerous criminals have taken hostages.
What is this? It's called a punch. I'm going to ask you one question, and all I want is a yes or no answer. Do you want to live through this?
Yes.
Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
One night is all that stands between them and freedom.
This is my kind of place.
But it's going to be one hell of a night.
I know it. I'm trying to remember it. I'm not. Anyway, you'll know that one. Yeah. Literature shifts shapes and film tends to stay where it is. Thinking that we're okay on literature and we're okay to talk story, but literature gets away with it by bending, whereas in cinema we don't. Now filmers can do something different. I'm separating the filmer from the cinema. I like cinema. I want to deliver cinema, film that people are watching. I'm not so bothered about theatre massively as much, or in your home. They all tend to be a dark space with a screen. I mean, that's the final thing. But all those decisions that get you there in cinema are often commercial, practical, real life gets in the way kind of decisions that get you there. However, the actual art is that filming. So there's always been people working against that or working with that and enjoying that, but we haven't. I don't think, without going back to just the filmer, what does film capture of the universe that's different to what a pen writing, what a writer might capture of the universe? What does filmer make of the world that then has a film story, not a literature story? Now, I don't know if that's a relevant thing, but that's interesting for me to dwell on, and perhaps for yourself. The cinematic stories show this, show that, they happen, they unfold in real time. The literature story can just, like, as I say, spend pages going through it, going through something it wants to. Being a filmer, I do like this filmer word. Because filmmaking is the whole of it, you're kind of doing all of it, but it's like the art is being a filmer. And the purpose has been hijacked by cinema, hijacked by literature to develop that. And we all think we're doing literature, but we're not. We're doing filming, and that can be something different. And then we've got to flip that into cinema and enjoy audiences developing themselves away from just a delivery mechanism of literature. Okay, so my beard is being snipped. Go back to the script. Oh yeah, filmers art. Hang on. Art is great. Artists are great, and many artists use film or explore with film. Now, I'm not talking here about having filmer become some filmer's art. Filmer's art, go Google it. We can do I've got one in the tank actually from presentation a few years ago. So I can deliver that at some point here on the podcast. But filmer's art is a specific thing, and I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, hey, let's do something really experimental. It's in the title, but it's experimental movie, not experimental film. There is a difference. I'm on about an experimental to get the cinema to be delivering something different. And at the moment today, looking at the filmer aspect of it and how that needs to be just reviewed again a little bit. Let's find out what's unique to filmering and then see how we then proceed that into cinema. So that's the point of this thought experiment. So yeah, not filmer's art. Anyway, back to the script. So it's being snipped. How long is it taking? We've no idea. That's one of the problems. We don't know how long this film is. The filmer doesn't. The filmer doesn't know how long they're going to be filming for. filming. I'm saying that as a joke, filming. I'm not proposing filming. The filmer doesn't know how long while they're making it. We capture everything. We capture the B-roll. We capture different bits. Not sure how it'll cut. We know that in the film making process, we'll need some things to play with. So all of that happens. But that's different to this problem of how long is this going to take. Because I'm in a room, on a chair, head back, not knowing, are we finished yet? Are we done? I don't know. Whereas when you watch a movie, cinema has a structure based on reels, by the way, based on 10-minute film reels. The one reel would last 10 minutes, so the first act is 2 10-minute reels, then 4, and then another 2 at the end. And that's also why you have a thing called the aftermath scene. The kind of like is a wide shot or a close-up, and it fades out. There's a bit of a pause and a bit of reflection. It tends to fade out. That allows the projectionist and all the projectionist marks on the films to see, oh, here we go, it's coming to an end, get the second reel rolling on the other projector to create that seamless thing. This created a structure of production of scenes based in 10-minute chunks because of the size of film. So, do we need literature? We don't do film in chapters. We do talk about acts, so then maybe there's a cross-relevance with theatre. But, you know, practically, theatre's 2 acts. Yeah, I know they have more than 3 acts, basically, but there's up to the halfway mark. Did a wonderful interview with a brilliant community theatre writer and director here in Hull, Rupert Creed. And it hadn't actually occurred to me. You go up to the halfway mark, and boom, comfort break, they all go to the bar, income for the theatre, etc. And you've got to get a cliffhanger to get them back on their seats after the 20-minute break. So theatre, 3 acts, 5 acts? Nah. 2 acts. Now movies don't do that, do they? So we think we're borrowing from theatre, or we think we're borrowing from literature, but actually, looking closely, there's a lot of pollution. There's a lot of things that don't actually add up. Back to the scripts. So, yeah, he showed me what it looked like. Great, yeah, that's fine. Thanks a lot. Thinking, right, I'm out of here. Lynn has already been in by this point and said, "Oh, it's going for coffee now," and told the guy to sort my eyebrows out as well. So I hope you're all appreciating that on the YouTube version of this podcast. As I'd already said, no, the eyebrows are all right. Anyway, vroomp. Looks fine. I think I'm gone. No. Now comes the hot towels. Love a hot towel. Love it in the restaurants, get a hot towel. There we go, hot towel wrapped around me, and I'm suddenly plunged into darkness. And I think, for the first time in this scenario yesterday, how would I film this? Because I know, as a filmer, what I'd do, depending on the purpose of what I was there for. I know how I'd film all the other bits and get the B-roll and make those decisions, and we talked a lot about it, these close-ups and extreme close-ups and that kind of thing. But here I am now under darkness. So it occurs to me as I write the script yesterday, the article that will go on Substack, and I came across this lovely thing of biophotonics. That's the study of those things in your eyes when you close your eyes. Wow, you don't see that often in movies. I haven't bothered doing the research to find out where they are, but I'll be using them in my next movie. Biophotonics will have this sense of like, what is it like when your eyes are shut? Because my eyes were shut under the weight of this lovely steaming hot towel, and I'm moving them under my eyelids, and it's like, well, how does that get captured? How does that get captured? So how can a filmer do that? What are the limits of the filmer? And then I go, hey, biophotonics is in. That will create that inner world, because as we present to the audience in the thing called cinema at the end, that audience, that camera takes that audience point of view. We give the audience one point of view, the screen, the container metaphor. That's what they have to play with all the meanings, and whatever we present within the container metaphor is what the movie says. All instantly just there, not discussed, just presented. Not discussed in the way literature would just simply discuss things with her. He is tired. Yeah, well, we haven't got that. You just got the performer. You're tired. Okay, but a director would be a bit more. Well, you're tired as if from a long train journey from which you've just woken up, so you are stirring. But anyway, whatever. There's very specific things that a performer will need to cognitively get into the character and understand it, and the director would do a better job than myself of helping a performer get in the right state to deliver, unfortunately, a piece of literature. So when you get the performers into the state and help them into the state to deliver something else, what is that? So anyway, here we are with the filmer. I have my eyes shut. How do I get the sense of my eyes rolling under my eyelids, slightly depressed by the lovely warm steaming towel, steaming my beer? And time again, I mean, how on earth do you do that? Because everyone knows how long a movie is when they're in the cinema, but it's like, oh, how long does this go on for? Oh yes, of course. Yeah, just let the scene go along. I often do that when people tell me I've got to cut the scene down. But that is part of it, isn't it? That's kind of like a real life thing of like, well, we don't know how long something's going for. I have no idea. I suspect around 5 minutes. I don't think I'm there for 20. And yes, it was around 5 minutes. But what's 5 minutes when you're under a hot, warm towel, overhearing somebody's conversation? Where does the filmer place the mics? Do I want that conversation? Is that part of the story? In the usual game of a movie, everything's super controlled. We have a super controlled delivery of the universe in a movie. And that's a shame. Because it makes us feel, well, that's part of the satisfaction. Hey, life's fine, it's all controlled, and this hero's fine, I want to be like this hero, and my mirror neurons are firing, and I'm going to copy this person, and I can see what love is, and I can see what courage is, and all that kind of thing, which is actually all neurologically wrong, and that isn't what love is, and that isn't what courage is, and it doesn't look like this, and it doesn't look like that, but cinema needs it in order to communicate these various internal assumptions of what the internal process is, even. Real life ain't like that, and filmer can capture real life. A filmer is in my barber's shop capturing all of this. So biophotonics, anyway, that's the one. And now the beardness. Looking onto the script, ASMR. I had to look it up, so I got the letters wrong. But autonomous sensory meridian responses. Now I've had that sense. This, if you don't know it, this is the thing of where people start getting tingles. Frisson. The French even have a word for it. Frisson. That you have from a series of sensory inputs. And you can Google it and watch on YouTube, and it helps people get to sleep and makes them feel great. All kinds of lovely audio responses. It's only kind of been around for about 15 years, maybe 2012, from remembering a paper on it. That this is a real thing, we need to look into it. So the neuroscience is out for now. It's getting there. Studies are being done to find out how it works. Now you think, well, in one of my movies in particular, people have said they've had this ASMR response to one of the scenes. A long scene, a chap walking down in the rain, so the sound is there. It's a monotonous thing. It's just a few cuts. There's a nice sense of rhythm, his movements. It's lovely, and it gets that thing. So, hey, that's filmer. Filmer does that. And even filmmaker does that, and even movie director does that. And it's capturing that universe. Capturing that universe and giving somebody a feeling, an internal feeling, and perhaps even communicating the internal feeling of one of the characters. Similar to lying on the beach and the distant sounds of children playing. The tide is out, the waves are soft in the background, there's a wind hush, and there's just a loveliness, and as some people walk past you, my eyes are closed here looking at biophotonics, and people walk past and you hear their conversation float in and float out Maybe a dog comes and sniffs, and suddenly sniffs in your ear and moves on. Wow. That's the universe. That's a human being in this universe using all our sensory apparatus to capture what they do of that. There was a nice bit actually in the lighting changed and the mirrors in the Barbers, the lighting changed and the sun came out in April here, April showers and all that. Suddenly sunny, bing, bash, bosh. And you're getting that here on the podcast as I face the window and deliberately face the window. I like it. I haven't seen it on other podcasts, so I think it's unusual. But you get this sort of inability to control the lighting, and which is fun as a filmer to watch it be impossible to control. Although I have brought a blind down, I've got some external lighting, just trying to get an exposure right on the skin tones, blah blah blah. But it's fun for it to go wrong. Okay, the script. Anyway, so there we go, filmer. Oh, infrasound. That was something I didn't. Just like low end bass that apparently is used, but in the horror genre. Cinema loves a genre. It needs a genre so much for the audience to understand what on earth is this universe that is being captured, and which bit of this captured universe are we supposed to take as purposeful. You know, which is why the loveliness of a documentary or a cinema verite kind of real life sort of thing just like really plays with that audience's expectation of which bit. Although, you know, which bit to take seriously, but it doesn't, does it? We do know because it's scripted, because it's controlled, because it's made by great filmmakers like John Cassavetes and performers, and we follow the events. Hey, events, no problem with events. Filmers film events. We have to have an event in film. We're not looking in filming for some internal description that we add later. We are looking to show events. We are not looking for simply words in the abstract. We're not looking for why. We don't do why. We don't actually do philosophy. The question of why this and why that and why is that important. We don't. We do how. How is that important? How is this zombie mark on this? You know, how is that mark important? We know because we're in a zombie genre, or we know because we're in a medical program, or it's an advert for these, what turned out to be plasters for the zit, so it's not a very good advert for them, is it? But anyway, we know that stuff, but in the universe, we don't know. In everyday life, we want to control what's happening around us, and sometimes we cannot. And the cinema is a specialist in showing the chaos of like we can't control, but actually delivering reassurance along with the popcorn. The reassurance that it is under control. This film will end. This film will have a happy ending, which anyone who knows scripts know that happens about 10 minutes in. My apologies, 3 minutes, 5. Under 10 minutes, we know if this is a tragedy or a lovely drama with a happy ending, and we just await the twist. And the whole literature develops around showing us something and helping us guess where it goes. That is the game. That is the game of cinema because of literature. And I wonder if we take that out, will people not mind my scenes being long and not mind the experience of how long is this going on for? Well, look at Bellatar, it goes on for about 8 or 9 hours. wonderful things that some people have, I've heard, sat through. And I love the films, but I do struggle to sit through them. Maybe took it too far, but I like a movie. I'm thinking that, we don't need an experimental thing as far as Bella Tarr, but my God, those films are amazing. Yeah. But, you need some time. I mean, it is relevant as well in the time, because everything's now these awful 2-minute dramas that within sort of 2 minutes deliver vroomp, the setup, the exposition, the meat and content, and then some sort of hook on a bit, characterization, and then a hook, so that we click for the next one. So if you don't click for the next one, you then stop paying. But this is a multi-billion-dollar aspect of Hollywood, and certainly the Chinese movie industry as well. And these really short clips. The rest of us, we're binging, aren't we? We're binging 30, 40 hours long, So, if you put a Bella Tarr film into like a half-hour segment and call it a series, he would have to put a hook at the end of each one to get us to watch the next one. Literature, page turners, end of chapters. Yeah, but a filmer can make a different kind of story, can present a different kind of cinema. Perhaps we don't need that literature thing. Let's go back to the script. I'm feeling myself wandering, covering everything. So, essentially, there's a bunch of events. What happened next in this epic movie was it was finally finished. There was lots of trimming, there was spraying, there was oils, there was rustling in my beard, and me thinking there, how do I capture this rustling? ASMR would help to do that rustling and the feeling of somebody fingers in your beard, in your space, somebody you don't know in your beard. Kind of, what's anyway, a filmer needs to be able to capture that, and we need to work with that, and then I want to bring that into the movies now as we create this sort of, capturing the universe differently to how literature and writers do it. Anyway, it turned out not to be £6, it was £13. Maybe it's I was paying by card. Maybe because there was the eyebrows, which were extra, so the beard trim. Maybe it's not a beard trim. Maybe it's a beard trim next time, but this one was quite a sculptural thing that took certainly over half an hour when I was thinking 2 minutes. So yeah, that's what you get when you go to see a movie, isn't it? It's just a quick 2-minute movie. I'll just watch this and then it's half an hour. That's real life. But if we're asking an audience to commit to that length of time, we're asking for an awful lot of attention as a movie maker, and I should make more of that faith and commitment and be nice to the audience. But it still doesn't mean that cinema has to deliver literature. And you probably get fed up with me saying it. Oh, straight line, blah. Here's some details. We can get the thing on Substack if you want to read all of it. So these events, these memories, these meanings, they can all be captured by a filmer. So the story that we'd started off wondering as I entered this place, this Barbers, it's now, there's several internal universes going on, several fictional minds that the filmer needs to capture. Just as recap, there's the young lad waiting on the chair, there's whoever he's waiting for, there's the experienced barber who maybe runs a shop, there's Lynn coming in and out, there's myself, and then there's a young barber who's taking his time and really doing a great job. Thank you very much. Over the barbers. Oh, there's some guys in the back, some sort of friends in the back and that sort of thing happening, other conversations. There's a lot of fictional minds to be captured in this space, in this physical space. There is not just a universe of the physical external universe that our physiology and sensory apparatus detects and gives us our subjective experience, but there's also our internal subjectivity made up of our memories and our learnings, our knowledge, our organising, our neurological organising. all of that goes on, and everybody else's, and we wonder what's in the room. And there is research that things like, you know, your serotonin, your hormones, your all of those kind of things actually flow out into the room as well from people. Hence, you know, the idea that crowds get excited and work off each other. So there's all of that going on. All of that's going on, and the filmer captures all of that. We can do biophotonics, everybody, was my next fun. I'm hoping it doesn't look just like a lot of computer graphics or something. I have to look into what that can be. ASMR maybe has to be more in my idea of what I'm doing. I like the time thing, that you're not quite sure, even if you know how long a film is, you don't quite know how long a scene is. That's real life, etc., etc. So let's have a look. Anyway, this story, these events, these memories, these meanings, they can all be captured by a filmer, and should be, and presented. So go to it. I ain't sure I can, of course, because I have already prepared this script now, and therefore polluted this situation with literature. I have considerations rather than spontaneity. I have form rather than freedom, reflection rather than speculation. Filming is a discovery, so a filmer, I put it to you, go out and film a Barbers. Go and film that as an experiment. That would be my my command, my suggestion. And I don't think I can do it because I've already corrupted it with a script. Maybe this podcast has already corrupted you with a script, but I think it's a good task, and maybe one day I will do it. I've got to get into that FX3 a bit more, so maybe that would be a good way of using it. However, lovely sort of bird just came by. What's that bird? It's not a firecrest, but it's got the little streak there. Wow, lovely. After all the wind of the storm Dave. Okay, filming is a discovery, an empirical research process. So here's the world, we're gathering it, it's there. Perhaps if it is chosen to progress to cinema, what has been filmed by a filmer, if it is chosen to progress to cinema, then these other aspects can be brought in. But film is in itself its own art form. Being a filmer is your own arts practice. Do filming first. Let's find out what it is. After these last 100 years of struggle for identity amongst theatre and the harnessing from literature, the digitals of the 21st century, this is the quote here, I'll leave you with this one, the digitals of the 21st century are releasing the ease of universe capture. The digitals of the 21st century are releasing the ease of universe capture. So we filmers can stretch a bit.